Refuge Project.
Welcome to the Refuge Project. The Refuge Project is a place that we can have meaningful conversation in a safe place. We are your hosts. I am Pastor David. We got James.
Hey.
And we got Pastor Caesar stopping by a little bit later in the show. And Nikki, what's Nikki's new last name?
It's not Dela.
It's not Dela.
Is it Mendez?
Mendez? Pretty sure.
If it's not Mendez, we probably sound pretty bad. Right? Was it Rodriguez?
It was Dela Reyes.
Yeah, it was definitely Dela Reyes.
And then she got married. So they'll be stopping by here in a little bit to join us. But for now, it's just James and I.
It feels a little empty in here, honestly.
Yeah. We normally have somebody else.
Yeah.
They left to show up to us, which is probably pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't think... I don't know.
It'll be good. It's going to be fine.
We're good. Very good. It's going to be the best episode ever.
This is probably as good as it's going to be.
Things been going all right?
Yeah. We just had... let's see today. Yeah, we just had last night was my dad's last big show at the high school.
Yeah.
That he was a part of before he retires. So it was the gospel mass thing, and actually a bunch of people from the church showed up, which was pretty cool. But yeah, they did a little at the end of the concert. They did I can't think of the right word, but they said a little thing about him and all, let him talk, and then they had a little reception in the foyer afterwards, punch and stuff. He's like a little celebrity at the thing there because everybody wants their picture taken. Everybody, you taught me 20 years ago. Let me get my picture taken, all that kind of stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we did that last night. It was
30,
cool. 35 years.
Wow.
Man.
As a choir director for one district.
One district, man.
That's crazy. That is nuts.
And it's like that's the in this part of the world, that's if you're going to be in choir, that's kind of the place to be in high school choir around here. And he's been a part of it for 35 years.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
So this is a couple weeks past the Mother's Day, and he just did a tremendous job. I thought.
Oh yeah, man.
We don't get to see him, Well, I mean, he kind of like speaks every week, before choir or whatever, but to give him 20, 25 minutes or whatever was a pretty cool thing. I leaned over to Pastor Mark and I was just like, man, how much wisdom did we lose throughout the years for him, not accepting to do, that type of ministry anyways. Yeah,
it was weird when that morning, because I didn't know he was being a part of the Mother's Day thing.
Right.
And that morning, my sister also just had a baby, which I'm sure if you're part of the church, I'm sure you know by now for sure. But yeah, so that was on Mother's Day, which is crazy because that's her second baby she's had on Mother's Day, and it was the same day of the year. So it was her kid Josiah's birthday that day, and he was born on Mother's Day a few years before. And now she's got another baby on Mother's Day on the same day, which is really funny because my dad, he was like announcing it to the church when he was up there, and his younger sister has the same birthday as him, but I think 11 years apart. So I don't know what it is about.
I think, man, Rayanne's really getting the raw end of the deal because this is supposed to be Mother's Day.
I know.
And then now she has birthdays on Mother's Day.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Mother's Day is a different day every year, But
it's still her birthday.
That's true.
I mean, it's still their birthday. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But anyways, yeah. So whatever. I mean, I'm sure she's happy, and she's got baby
number 3. Remy Rose.
Remy Rose, which I think
Rose
is an awesome name.
My mom last night, she was telling somebody about, my daughter just had a baby. They said, "Oh, what's the name?" And my mom, she's so funny. She makes us like kind of confused, but kind of happy. But like you could tell she didn't know what to think of the name. She's like, "It's Remy Rose," and they're like, "Oh, that's a pretty name." She goes, "Yeah, it's a unique name. It's a pretty name. Yeah,
I love it."
But she's like half smiling, but kind of confused looking the whole time. I said, "Mom, you got to change your presentation and how you're doing these names. You're not.
It's a grandbaby now.
You're not. You are not selling it at all. Like, if this was a product, I don't think I'd buy it. It's a unique product. It's a good one.
It's a baby's name.
I like it. I think I like it. Jesus, okay, Mom. No, it's a great one. Tara likes that name, so I don't know if that
Yeah, I think it's a great name. I think Remy could go either way too, boy or girl. If they would have had a boy or girl, could have went, Remington, Remy, the whole thing. So,
but Rayanne's middle name is Rose. So,
okay, cool.
She's got the same middle name now.
That'll make it like a cool, logo.
Yeah. RRN.
Yeah,
I like it, man.
Interesting. Well, good, man. I know we had a good service a couple of weeks ago with Mother's Day, and man, your dad killed it. Everybody killed it. Your dad, he was cracking me up when he said Bobby had pictures, Pastor David had walk-up music, and then y'all didn't leave me with no tissues.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I was saying when my mom called me that morning, she texted me that morning, said something about Rayanne's having her baby right at like 7 a.m, and then she said. I said, are we going up to the hospital or what's going on? She said, I'm up here, but your dad's not coming because he's preaching today. And I was like, what are you talking about?
You thought your mom was going crazy.
I was like, what? And so, and so then when I got to church, I figured it all out.
Yeah.
And all. So, that was the beginning. That was why I brought up my sister having a baby at all.
Yeah. Well, that was good. It was a good time. I was... one of the hardest messages that I've ever done. Of course, we all got about 15 minutes, 20 minutes or whatever, but just giving people their flowers, especially your mom or your dad or something like that. And it's well known around this podcast that I'm the old guy in the room.
For sure.
And the older I get, the more sentimental I get, kind of like your dad. Mm-hmm. Like your dad is more sentimental now than he's ever been.
By far, yeah. And I hear about it all the
time. And, I was just a crying mess up there, just telling my mom how much I loved her. And it's not like
I didn't see the second service. I was only in the first one. You were pretty good in the first one, right?
But my mom was in the second service.
Yeah.
She was looking at me,
Why is it so hard to tell people?
I do it all the time. That was the weird thing about it. But I guess it was just looking back on my life and everything that she has done and everything she's been a part just really made it.
But I think it's hard for everybody.
Yeah.
That's everybody starts crying and all that times. You start telling people what they mean to you. And it's like, why? What's the deal with that? Why should I feel like it shouldn't be that way, but it definitely is.
It definitely is, And then, I was talking about Pastor Bobby talked about him being adopted. And then, man, I broke, of course, Adam was in the second service. And,
right.
I kind of mentioned that we had some of the same conversation. And then when I looked over at him, I almost lost it, So it was there was so much emotion going on in the whole service. But it was a really, really good service. So. Yeah. I think it hit on so many different areas of life for a lot of people. So
I agree.
A lot of feedback.
Did all the Mother's Day stuff go good afterwards?
Yeah, we did. And that was the other thing that there were so many things that represented my life with my mom. Like I wore a flowered shirt, because you always give your mom flowers. Yeah. So I would just I really thought it through the whole thing to what I wore.
She even noticed?
No, she didn't. But it meant something to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm wearing flowers for my mom, and
you don't know this mom, but this is for you.
This is for her, and I represented her. And then I played Tupac, Dear Mama. Yeah. In the second service, I didn't do the first service, but so there was a lot of things that represented my life and different different areas of my life, and so it was a good day. It was fun.
Yeah,
but it was tough.
Ours was cool, but it was definitely it's just funny because Rayanne's not there on Mother's Day because she's busy having a baby, which is ironic.
And then we all talked about our moms, and your dad talked about every mom in his life.
Yeah, we talked about all the grandmas and
Rayanne to the grandmas to the moms to everybody, which was...
He's a really good public speaker.
Yeah.
Just in general. Anytime I've heard him randomly have to give a speech or something, he always kills every time.
And then I heard he's a really good card writer.
Because it's just like speaking.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've mentioned on here before, he minored in English in college. So he's got he's good at a thesis statement and all that kind of stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That so makes sense.
Which is super useful.
Yeah.
And I think I've said before, it was definitely annoying growing up though with the dad who minored in English.
No, we're not saying it like that.
Yeah, because
that's not how you say it.
He'd always be correcting you with the who and whom, all that kind of stuff. And
that wouldn't have went over well with me.
Always that kind of stuff. But honestly, it was super useful though now because I'm pretty good at speaking now, especially since I the jobs I've done since I was 16 just involved speaking to random people of the public.
Yeah.
Dozens and dozens every day for years now, for like a decade. So I've got the reps in speaking to people.
So do you speaking to strangers all the time? Does it become where really nobody's a stranger?
It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm tired and I don't feel like talking to people, everybody's a stranger. But if I'm I'm feeling good, energetic, I can talk to anybody.
Right.
And even if I'm tired and not feeling so hot, I can still talk to you. But like I'm dipping out of that conversation as soon as I get the chance.
Yeah, I mean that's healthy. I mean, be able to just go up and speak to anybody, especially you get into like job interviews or whether you're like so used to sitting in front of her and looking at people.
It's crazy seeing like some of the younger kids that be new hires as their first job or something like that, and they can't hardly talk to anybody. And one, because it is pretty nerve-wracking to go just talk to a stranger for the first time, especially if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
And especially if you're like a teenager who's still insecure about things.
Right.
And everything.
Might be your first job too.
Yeah, and now with this generation, most of their communications through text and comments and whatever. So to go just talk to a stranger and look them in the eye is like a big ask for a lot of these people.
Wow, yeah.
And it's crazy seeing the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you seen technology start to evolve in the service business industry where there'll be fading more and more servers and stuff out?
Some places try to do it, like if you go to Chili's or something, they got the little thing on the table where you can pay right there. So they got that kind of stuff. I've seen they've talked about doing it at Gringo's, where instead of having a handful of computers at different stations to go type in orders and stuff, having like your own personal iPad kind of a
Joe's
thing.
has one.
Yeah, and so you can just stand there at the table and type it in while you're taking the order.
Right.
So I don't know. They all have their pros and cons with that kind of stuff. You definitely don't want to be if it's a busy place, you don't want to be like Stone Age restaurant stuff where you're writing everything on a ticket and handing a physical piece of paper to the kitchen to go like.
They're like hanging it on the little thing that you spin around.
You don't want to do that these days.
Old school diners.
That's fine if it's not that busy, but if you got 100 tables in your restaurant and it's a busy Friday night, you don't want to be doing that stuff.
Right.
I don't know. I think with anything, it's got its pros and cons going techier, but it's always useful to have a person there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you've ever had to call customer service, you know what I'm
Press
talking about.
one
like,
to get your tacos.
Like you can
Press
make it work, man.
For enchiladas.
You can get it to work, but how much more do you love
Press
it if
three
a person
if you want a refill?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be terrible.
That would be the worst.
That would be, back in the day, it was cool to like fly your flag at Ponchos or whatever. But if you had to find some type of technology to get a refill or something.
But sometimes it's cool. Like you go to like McDonald's or something or Taco Bell, they've got those. I don't know. It's called the big screens,
those signage boards
where you can just type in your order instead.
Well, that's because of the people that work at McDonald's and stuff are just dumb.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah.
Or they just don't try because why would they?
Well, they're making $15 an hour. You think they would try now?
Yeah, maybe. Are they make it to 15 yet?
Yeah.
Where are they getting it?
Wendy's were advertising the other day, $15 an hour.
A few of them where I've seen a few random signs like that.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna quit my job and go work at Wendy's and just get people's hamburgers wrong all day.
Yeah.
Like this, them and the weather guys, the only place they can get their job wrong all day long.
All day, just say, sorry.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Oh, I'm sure y'all done listening to us ramble on. Let's jump right into Culture Corner.
Call up Caesar. Get him on the phone.
We're going to have to get him to do a little bit of
right?
Something, either just to record it that way we can play it.
Oh my God.
Here.
You imagine having a bad Caesar freestyle on one of these buttons here that I could just hit play on anytime?
I'm about to.
I hit, just like I hit one of these buttons, I can hit one that says, I'm about to. I'm about to. Oh, man, that would be so good.
Yep. Right. What you got?
I got, let's see. So the time of this coming out, it's probably been a couple weeks. But the comedian Dave Chappelle, who you've probably heard the name, even if you don't listen to any comedy at all, because he's kind of like the biggest guy in the comedy world at the moment.
Yep. Top 5 GOAT,
For sure. He recently he was doing a show at the Hollywood Bowl and a
Hollywood Bowl?
Yeah, I think it's the name of that theater, right?
Okay, that's a theater?
Yeah, pretty sure. Hopefully I didn't get that wrong because it's a famous theater. Okay. But anyway,
never heard of it, but
it's a big place, right? So he's packing out this big place. It's a big show, big deal. So he's doing a show there, and a guy ran on stage and tried to tackle him and tried to stab him with a knife while he was doing his thing.
Okay.
He was unsuccessful.
So he didn't like what he was saying?
What we found out later after the fact was this dude was a homeless dude. He's not mentally stable, all this stuff. I think he was doing it out of, he thinks Dave Chappelle is like a transgender hater guy. Yeah. And he was just going to, going to let him give him what he deserves.
How did the homeless dude get into this?
So we still haven't at the time of recording this, we still don't really know because it's an expensive show, man. Yeah. And he brought a knife in, which they all go through metal detectors. They all go through there, and also there's video footage of this, and all the phones are supposed to be locked up in the bag. That's like a famous thing about going to a Dave Chappelle show. Yep. But anyway, so people snuck their phones in. This dude snuck a knife, and it was a knife that looks like a gun, which is a really stupid knife. But anyway,
well, that much more that it should have been caught at the door.
Even more. But anyway, so he got in. Don't know how he got a ticket. Don't know how he got in. But
well, I think they should probably step up their security.
Yeah, and he's on the front row. He just jumped on the stage and ran at him. Wow. And nobody did anything till after the fact. So it was pretty bad. So you can look up the footage. The guy runs and tries to tackle him. Dave kind of shifts his hips a little bit so the guy doesn't get him or anything, but he makes contact. But then some people come and grab the guy pretty quick. But yeah, so that happened. And so the reason this is extra interesting is because it's just a month or so after the whole Will Smith slapping Chris Rock thing, which was a whole big thing too.
Yeah, that was interesting because that was black on black, comedian crime
at the Oscars. Yeah, and this was I think this dude was a white dude. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Actually, I don't know if they even let it out yet. But also the police they didn't charge the guy with anything. Even though they have him on video. Yeah, I guess so. But they have a video of him
but he's
running.
Homeless can do whatever you want to do in California.
With knives and guns and whatever you want.
Or knives that look like guns.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that happened. And nothing happened to the guy.
Probably let him out right then, and he probably walked into a CVS and just took whatever he wanted and walked out.
He probably stole that knife from thinking it was a gun. And then showed up and was like, oh man. Now I got to charge the stage.
I got this knife gun. I guess I got to use it.
But yeah, Jamie Foxx was there. That was part of the story, is that he jumped on stage real quick, and the end of Dave Chappelle, once he got the mic back, was making fun of Jamie Foxx because he had some cowboy hat on. He was like, I felt all right. I knew everything was gonna be okay when I saw Jamie Foxx running on the stage with a cowboy hat.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I think Jamie Foxx moved to Texas or something like that now. So
probably everybody did.
He's wearing the cowboy stuff. So there's just a interesting thought there. We've come to a point in society where comedians can't be funny no more.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Dave Chappelle's show, and I've made it very clear I'm not one of those guys that are just totally in love with making fun of the gay and lesbian, and I think it's ridiculous some of the times they're adding letters by the day. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're people. Yeah. But if you listen to Chappelle's, he did a whole special talking about how he wasn't transphobic.
Yeah, that whole special, that was kind of the thing that, he already had a bunch of heat on him about people being like, oh, you hate the trans, you got all these trans jokes, which he's got a joke here or there, but it's not but this last one, he made his whole special a story about this trans person. Yeah. And so that was kind of what threw it all over the edge. But if you watch the special, the whole story is like he's talking about how it's this friend of his that was a trans person.
Yeah,
he let this trans person open up shows, and this person ended up killing themselves. And it's like it's just a story about this. There's no like,
and they've taken it and they twisted it all around.
Yeah.
How he's transphobic.
Yeah, but just because he talked about it, it's not because none of the stuff. Anyway, that's the thing. It's just crazy that like people are getting attacked on stage in front of people.
Yeah, it's just
and nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening. That's the problem.
You know, Will Smith got the Oscar. This guy didn't get charged with anything. They're just like,
Yeah, so I mean, I think that you're about to see the creativity taken away from. I mean, it starts with comedians, and then where does it go? You know, then maybe music, then TV, then and before you know it, they were living in a communist country because all of our rights have taken away because a couple people get their feelings hurt.
It's just crazy, and also it's crazy that the security was so bad at such a big show like this.
Yeah, it sounds like that show that happened out here at Astroworld, right?
Oh yeah. That one was just bad planning.
Probably just used the same security team.
Yeah, they probably got a good deal on them.
Oh, y'all are out of work because of the Astroworld concert? Yeah, come on here.
They said, we'll give you a third of the price. It was that's bad.
That is terrible. Yeah, I mean, but you let a homeless guy in with the gun. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. But then it's like, what do you want? Like, I don't like running through metal detectors every time I go anywhere. I don't want to get strip searched to go see a comedy show, but it's like you probably shouldn't be letting people come in with guns.
Yeah, probably not.
Sitting on the front row. There wasn't even
unless you're in Texas.
Also, there's there should be security like at the front of the stage. Like if you go to any show, that's how it is. And there was nothing. They're all like on the side stage, just hanging out. Like, oh, isn't this crazy? Dave Chappelle's here. Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude just runs right on the front of the stage.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I found a story. It says this lady bought a $35 bust at Goodwill. Not for sure what bust means, but this is
it's like the head.
That's what it means.
Yeah. It's like a
statue
like a stone.
Of a head. Yeah, stone statue of a head. Here in Austin, Texas, she said she spent $35 on it because it reminded her of Dennis Reynolds. I don't know who Dennis Reynolds is. So she bought it. She thought it was funny. I guess he played in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. I know who he is.
Yeah, so it made her chuckle. So she bought this one. She started taking it home and started really looking at this. She was telling the New York Times that it didn't look like it was new, like it was made in today's times. And so she contacted a couple of museums and things, and they began to look at it and inspect it. And they found out this thing is over 2,000 years old, and it was from the time of Jesus, from the Roman empires. So it's a Roman.
And she bought it in Austin.
And that was the story of like, how did it get in Austin, Texas? If it's a Roman relic of some god somewhere, how did it get there? And so they're just thinking that between wars, that some soldier probably brought it back illegally. It was probably part of some collection somewhere, and through wars, and soldiers pick things up that they're not always, they're not supposed to pick up, and they bring back to the States or something like that is kind of what they, figured. But something that you said was just like, this gives you the hope that one day that you'll find that one
you go to that antique store in your neighborhood, and you'll find something.
It made me think of Gary Vee. Gary Vee's always talking about, go
to the garage sale.
Go to the garage sale. Like if you had $500, what would you do with $500? He's like, I'd go to a garage sale.
I'd go to every thrift store in this town, and I would flip. It's amazing how much you can make flipping stuff in your own neighborhood.
Why does your Gary Vee sound Indian?
That was a spot on Gary Vee, man. I'm telling you, just flip. You need money? It's in your closet right now. Yeah. I hope y'all know who Gary Vee is, because that was a really good impression.
If he was Indian. I mean, the words were there. The accent was.
I nailed that. So go look him up for yourself, and you'll know that was perfect. Gary Vee came in the room and yelled that right now. That was him.
I mean, just to put it out there, Gary Vee uses the F-bomb a little bit.
Yeah, I did.
So
it was like 90% accurate. I didn't use 100% of the words that he would have used.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, so you go there, buy some Hot Wheels or whatever, and turn that $500 into $1,500.
Yeah.
He, gives you that hope or whatever. Or you can go there and waste your $500 on junk,
some dumb toys that nobody wants.
Nobody wants.
Yo, I found out the other day. Actually, it was probably from a Gary Vee video, or like a clip or something. That Craigslist has a section for free stuff. So you can go under for sale, and then you can pick categories of stuff for sale. And there's a category. It just says free stuff. And so it's people that just have stuff they want to get rid of, and they just list it on Craigslist and say, hey, if you can come get it, you can have it. And most of it's junk, but a lot of it's like old furniture, old mattress or something. But some of it's like, it's legit stuff where they're just like, hey, we're leaving town tomorrow. If you can get it, you can have it, kind of stuff.
There's a YouTuber that he turned couches into a business by the free section on Craigslist. So
there's so many of them.
He went and picked up a couch because he needed a couch.
Yeah,
he's got his first apartment and he was trying to fill his apartment or whatever. And so he went and picked up this couch. And then he had it for a little while, got a couple paychecks, and then he wanted to, go get him a nice couch. So he decided that he was going to sell that couch. Well, he ended up selling the couch for like $300.
Yeah.
So he was just like, man, I'm gonna do this for like some side money. And then now he has like a furniture store because he was just picking up these free couches and just like reselling them. And then before you know it, he was buying office space and retail space. And now he has.
I thought about doing it because I got addicted for like a week of just scrolling through the free stuff section every day on Craigslist. And I'd see some stuff like there was people giving away boats and stuff where it's like if you had the knowledge on how to mess with stuff and had a couple weeks to put some time into something, you could get the free boat. Yeah. Do some simple repairs and sell it for like $15,000 if you wanted, because boats are expensive.
Oh yeah.
And I just got lost in I didn't end up getting a single thing, so I wasted a lot of time scrolling through the free stuff on Craigslist.
There was a show that was out for a while called Trading Up.
Yeah.
And then, you would take something that you have, like say a gas weed eater or something. And then on like Craigslist and stuff, they have people that want to trade stuff, and you would trade it for like a riding lawnmower. And then you just take that riding lawnmower and trade it for like, something else. You keep trading up, and those guys would take like, a chainsaw, and before you know it, they had this like classic car or whatever they traded all the way up to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the time, that stuff takes time.
Yeah. Also, a lot of those things are big things. You got to have a truck or something to move the couch and all. Yeah. I don't know. I kept thinking I might do it, but I didn't do it.
You didn't do it. Well, you need to try it and then let us know how it goes.
I do.
All right. I got a song for you called Nail Scarred Hands by Dante Bowie.
My past became my prison. Love was waiting with the key. My story was my failure. Now my story is redeemed. Oh, my freedom's written in your nail-scarred hand. Where there was sin and shame, the cross now stands. The grave no longer tells me who I am. 'Cause my freedom's written in your nail-scarred hands. Oh. Your blood has paid my ransom. Your wounds have made me whole. Now every day is brighter. Oh, your love's a miracle. My freedom's written in your nails. nail-scarred hands. Where there was sin and shame, the cross now stands. The grave no longer tells me who I am, 'cause my freedom's written in those nail-scarred hands.
All right, that is Nailed Scarred Hands by Dante Bowie. Man, what a good song. I think that's one of the songs that you could worship to, that you can play in your church, and just really begin to worship with the things that really mean the most to us as Christians, right? And it's all about Jesus and all those things. Y'all stay tuned, right? We got a chance to catch up with Nikki, and she's been running our social media here at Elam Church for a little over a year now, and we want to bring her in to see maybe she can help us talk about the things that she's learned, the things that she's done to really capture our social media, and she's done a really good job. So stay tuned. I know you're going to enjoy this interview with Nikki. Well, thanks for stopping by, Nikki. So we had a debate earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
Your last name.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Medina?
It is Medina.
Oh, we got
Man.
it.
What do you think it was?
No, I don't think we said Medina.
What do we say?
Sanchez, Gonzalez, something.
Oh, maybe we did.
We did say Medina.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were really off.
We got Pastor Caesar. He's just joining us on the phone. He wasn't able to make it in.
I think I said Mendez.
Appreciate you, Pastor.
That's my mom's maiden name.
Is it?
Yeah, we're
close.
over here on the other side of the world.
Mendez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, over there on the other side of the world. So, but we appreciate him stopping by. He's taking a little bit of a lunch break to join us today. We wanted to jump right into a role that Nikki has been playing here for us at Elam Church. Really our first social media director, whatever you want to call.
The best we've had.
Thanks,
You've
guys.
by far been the best. Our social media has definitely changed. The way that we have this online footprint has definitely changed. And so I just wanted to bring you in and just kind of go through some of the stuff that you have learned, and maybe your thought process when you first started and what you thought it was going to be, and then where it ended up, because when we start those new roles, we're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna change the world, and then you can't even change your own life. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what was your thought when you first signed on to this, what you was going to do, and then we'll kind of go from there.
I was very excited to have that role here because, like you said, no one had ever really done anything like that here before, and the extent of the social media presence of Elam Church was an occasional
I didn't even
clip
know
art image and obituaries here and there type things, but it's just wasn't very active, and so if anyone ever needed to see something or find something out that was happening with the church, you really couldn't, because the people here are busy doing what they need to do, and so no one was really here stepping in to post things constantly. And with social media nowadays, people are always on it, and so it's not something that at this point is a nice to have, but it really is a need if you want to be honestly just relevant or successful, which might sound kind of funny, but I think it is a really good digital tool to use, and I don't know, I was super pumped to do that for the church. And as soon as I got in, same thing, I was like, I'm going to start an Instagram account, I'm going to start a Twitter account, I'm going to do this and this, and I very quickly learned that it was a slow push for change. I think a lot of the things that I was doing, but even with that, Pastor David, Pastor Caesar, the people who came before me, who were, aware of the digital value of things like that. They kind of did, already set up a precedent and kind of already paved a way for me to not enter completely blind and just to surprise people and be like, okay, can I do this? And they're like, wait, what the heck? What does that even mean? It's like, okay, no, there's already people here who've started, just a little bit, with the Facebook Live and, things like that. YouTube.
So you're telling me you want to pay $15 to do a Facebook ad?
Yeah.
What is that?
And and so I've been here by the end of the summer, it'll be 2 years that I've been here. And over those 2 years, I have spent a total of only $15.
Wow.
So there's not even, I don't even need a budget is always great, to have, but that's not something that, was here before I got here. And so $15, y'all, this is not a lot of money. And
that's crazy.
It's been a lot of growth.
Let me chime in for a second. Yeah, I remember having a meeting with one of, he was a leader at a very big and prominent church here in Houston, and he was telling me about some other, one of the emerging churches at the time that was here. He said that their budget for their social media was $80,000.
Oh my gosh!
Wow!
And annually, so
15, y'all, 15.
That's funny because sorry, go ahead.
No. It's just and it's for people that are listening right now. It's that's kind of on two extreme ends there, and then there's other churches that $80,000 is just a drop in the bucket for them in their digital presence, because it's I think there's kind of a disconnect, especially from maybe the older generation, whenever they think about the importance of having a digital footprint out there, especially for a growing church in a modern world, because it's not just Facebook. No, it's not just that, but it really is modern day evangelism, as much as a lot of people don't want to call it that, because they feel like it's like the church has gotten lazy. Well, not necessarily. It's just we have to adapt to the time and to the culture, and really it's just an outreach. It's another form that the church has to now outreach to a lost and broken world. And there's some people that get it, there's some that won't. And it's my opinion that those that don't get it will end up closing their church doors, because after their last congregant dies, that's it. It's not just appealing to young people. Now it's appealing to all people. Yeah. But this last this older generation that's looking at the last years of their life, I'm not so sure if they if they have a value of that. And that's not just Elam Church. It's all churches. Mm-hmm. We have this conversation all the time amongst church leaders, and the things that we read, and the importance of us having a that extending that digital hand of fellowship out there to a lost world. So yeah, I mean, $15 or $12, $15. Would you say, Nikki?
15.
That's funny because I have a small business, and I allocate $150 a month to social media, and that's paying my social media girl too. Yeah. But we definitely set aside money for ads and different things like that because I think when you think about social media, and then you hear the term right now that's going on is meta and different things like that. I think it's important that we understand that it's not just a sign out in front of your church anymore, right? That this now has to go online, and the reach is much further than how many cars will pass your sign on the side of the road, right? Now that you can reach hundreds of thousands, millions of people by a single post is pretty crazy when you think about it. But when we talk about bridging the gap between generations, and when we talk about social media, I read something that was like people 44 and younger, like 98 or 99% of them have a social media page that are active on social media. Mm-hmm. So if
MySpace,
so I think that when you talk about that, like the easiest way to reach somebody is in their living room. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like that, in sales, when you're door-to-door sales, like they say, if you can just get in the door, right? If you can just get into the kitchen, if you can just sit down with them at the table, how easy is it with social media that you can do that, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then just kind of to give a little more context to the conversation, right? Like Elam Church is about to celebrate its centennial. It's 100 years of existence. Less than 100 years ago, actually 97 years ago, in 1925, less than half of the homes the homes in America had electricity. Ooh. So it's like, now in this modern day world, we live off of online, we live off of electronic devices and things, and it's an entirely different world that we live in now. And and that just goes to show you, like, the speed of progress and how we need to constantly go out there and find it. Like Pastor David was saying, in the olden days, whenever the television came out, television is the devil, or anything that comes out, it's the devil. And that's been the traditional church approach to really everything. But, my question, I guess if I had a question to Nikki, what would you say if somebody told you,
social media is the devil?
Yeah, social media is the devil. Go.
Show me in the Bible where it's the devil. I don't know. I've never had anyone actually ask me that question or, tell me that. But I don't know. I think whenever people bring topics up like that, like, I think you just really have to look at what is the fruit of what you're producing. So if you think that me, getting on social media and making, so just like, let's take a very tangible example. I'm posting a picture. Okay, I'm taking pictures in church, so I might be distracting. So someone, oh, you're distracting the congregation from worshiping because you're walking around taking pictures, and then you post them for what? Okay, well, let's look at that. Okay, so I'm taking pictures, and sure, someone might look up every once in a while because they're like, oh my gosh, she's taking a picture of me, and I'm like crying or something like that. It's like, okay, well, sure, it might be distracting, but okay, so the fruit of that, I take that picture, I post it, and for example, I took a picture of Pastor Caesar preaching to the youth at a skateboard event outside. Mm-hmm. And it was an outreach event, where kids from the neighborhood just came in. And I took that picture and I posted it. And probably kids were looking at me. I might have been a little distracting because then you hear the which now I have a silent shutter, so I don't know how to distract people. But I remember Caesar posted that picture and he made it his cover photo, and there was a comment on that picture of some guy, I don't know who it was, but he had this, paragraph long thing of like, wow, this is so crazy to see. Like, I used to go to this church when I was younger and I hadn't really, been in touch with it. And then all of a sudden I see this picture of my old, youth group, and it's just crazy to see how God is still working here and blah, 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 blah. And that kind of stuff happens like literally every single day. And I just think people don't see it and people don't realize like the fruit that this is producing, like he said, evangelism, like this is another way to reach people to save souls ultimately. And I mean, that's what the Bible tells us to do. And so tell me that social media is the devil. Well, I don't think the devil wants to be, saving souls for Jesus. So it's like, if that's what it's the fruit that it's producing, then, show me in the Bible where that's the devil. Like, right. And so along with that, also, since we're talking about, not all older, generations, but we were talking about the older generations and how some of them might not understand. But a while back, I did some number crunching with, how much, and I know we're talking about Facebook, but it's totally not just Facebook. Like, there's so much more to it. But with Facebook, I was looking at the stats of the age and gender of who it reaches. And so we have a little over 3,000 followers on Facebook, and the majority of age range is 34 to 45, 35 to 50. 35 to 50 is the average age of what we're reaching, like the most. But it's so funny because I look over, I'll show you all the chart, but I'll try to explain it verbally. So this is 35, 45, 55, 65 and up is almost just as much as the 35-year-old. So people
might Facebook.
But it is Facebook.
Right.
But it is still social media,
Sure.
So it's like people still
reaching.
on Facebook too. Like what you mean they don't know how to they might not know how to use anything else on their phone, but they know how to use Facebook. And so it's like it really is reaching every generation, but I don't know if y'all can see this chart. So, 35 and up to 65 plus, it's all kind of the same. But you look at the 18 to 24 and it is significantly less because young people, 18 to 24, are not on Facebook at all. Yeah. And so it's how do we reach them? They're all on Instagram. They're all on TikTok. And that's what they do all day long. So if you want to reach young people, you go to where they are, sitting on their toilet, scrolling on Instagram. So post stuff on Instagram. So is
Instagram ruining their platform right now? Has your Instagram feed changed lately where it's just always like 3/4 of it is just like say, hey, you like this video now.
Like sponsoring and reels
it's
and
it's so full of that stuff. You can't even see the people you follow anymore.
Yeah, I mean you can go in and adjust, and that's not something everybody knows. But you can go in and adjust who you are. Just show me the people that I'm following, or don't show me videos. Just show me this. Yeah. But I've been seeing people. So I also run a photography account because I run it at my. I have a small business too. Yeah. It's not a small business. It's just a business. Who says it's small or big? It's a business. Yeah. But on there, I had a lot of people asking, why am I only seeing videos? I'm not seeing any pictures.
They came out and changed this, and they're now a video.
Mine is still pictures. So I don't know what people are talking about. I guess some people, but you, like I said, you can go in and change what you're saying. But, it's social media can detect how many seconds you're on a picture. So then they start showing you more of that. Or if you click something one time, they're going to start showing you more of that.
So let me ask this. We've all agreed that it's important. If you are a church out there and you're just like, okay, I have my clip art and we do our second Sunday of the month potluck or whatever, and we're posting that on Facebook and we do 2 or 3 post a month, and now I want a presence. What is your suggestion to somebody else out there that just says, okay, we're gonna hire us a Nikki, and we want to do something? What is you think the low hanging fruit that they can go out and attack?
So the 2 words that come to mind, and I've kind of started to live by this in the work that I do, are consistency and follow-up. And so I feel like that's a little bit more tangible, and you can apply that to any, if you have an $80,000 budget, or if you have a $15,000 budget, you can still be consistent and you can still follow up. And what I mean by that is, one, if you're posting clip art, and that's all you know how to do, and you hire someone and they're still using clip art, but if you're doing it every single day, people still see that, and they see that you're active and that y'all are doing things there. And so I do value how things look, of course, and I mean we can talk about that later on too, but if that's where you're at, and if you're using clip art but you're posting every day, keep posting clip art every day. Like, people are saying that you're posting in that, or not that you're posting, but that you're active and that you are within reach. People want to see accounts. So I'll say this. So whenever I'm on Instagram and I'm scrolling and I'm looking at a new account, I always look at the first thing I look at is if they just posted something on their story, which Facebook has that now too, but it's like a little ring around your profile picture, and it means that you just posted something within the last 24 hours. And subconsciously, I have found myself, looking at a new account, and if it doesn't have something that was posted within the 24 hours, I'm like, oh, they're not active. They must not post. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? That's kind of crazy. And then I look at their actual pictures that they post that, are still on the feed, and they posted 4 days ago. But in my head, I'm like, 4 days ago, that's a long time ago. And so it's just crazy how that's just the culture that we live in now. It's like everything is very at your fingertips. It's a constant flow. Things are just constantly being put out there. And so as much as we might hate it of we're always on our phones, and of course there's a time to put it away. We need to do that. Even with that, that's still the world that we're living in, and people are just we're a very consumeristic culture. Go ahead, sorry.
No. I got a comment on that, because you were talking about is, you know, and I love how you said it, consistency and follow up, and you know, how important is content creation. You know, and it's not just a one-stop shop, because you have to be very methodical, very strategic when it comes to this. Because, you know, I know it sounds like we're picking on the older generation when it comes to digital media, but and we might be, but then also, just like you said, but like, you know, teenagers aren't on Facebook, and as a church that is multi-generational, we have to make sure that we try to hit all bases. So the importance and the necessity of content creation is it's a skill. It's an art. Not anybody can just do it. I mean, yes, do what you have, right? Or use what you have. But, you know, there's people that are gifted out there in making fantastic, relevant content that is specific to a certain age group or you know, demographic of people, and you know, is that wrong? I said, no, that's being wise. That's knowing who's around. That being able to minister to the heart of the individual, I think should be always the end goal, right? It's the individual. We don't do these things just to chum the waters and get as many as we can. Although whenever we're dealing with, you know, data analytics and looking at demographics and things, of course, it gives us it gives us a better view rather than looking at things from 50,000 feet in the air. We're able to actually see it from 500 feet, and then if we can just tailor that and really know where to put the emphasis on, and like Nikki does such a great job with being sensitive to the fact that not every video, not every content, not every font that you use on a post, it's all for different people. It's all for different age groups, and you know, because I know some churches too that they just designate, you know, one person that just say, yeah, I'll do it. Okay. If you have somebody that is talented or at least better at some of these things than a you know, 85-year-old pastor, pastor, let somebody else do it. You know, bring somebody on board that actually has the eye for it. And yeah, you know, that's just so important, because I've seen a lot of churches where, and in smaller churches too, where it's, you know, it's the pastor or the pastor's wife, and you know, we're not in 1994 anymore with Windows anymore. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that's free.
Yeah. And I wanted, that was like my next question to follow up, was talking about some tools and stuff that we can suggest. But before we go there, consistency and follow-up.
Follow-up.
Give me the follow-up.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to use James as an example because he's right in front of me. But something that I noticed over the last couple months, so with his band Eucalyption, they're on Instagram, and yeah, there you go. But I just started noticing him liking like if you commented on something, he liked the comment or responded to it, or he posted something on. Are you the one who's doing that? Yeah. So posting on his story almost every day. I mean, you're doing it though. You're doing it yourself, and it doesn't take somebody. I mean, like Caesar's saying, yes, there is an art to it. There is a professionalism to that, but also it is something that's tangible and that everybody can do, you know, if they just put the time into it. And so James was posting every day, what's a band you're listening to today, or here's a cool song that I heard, and
every Wednesday,
you know, so it's just, and I noticed
Get with me, bro. I got a good social media girl, so if you need some help,
but it is work though, like you said.
Yeah.
And like Caesar was saying, what's your goal and all. If you're not doing the stuff with the goal, you're not going to be efficient with it. And as far as the budget stuff, I know we've talked about, depending on what your goal is, you might need a big budget. But if your goal is just to post basically flyers so that everybody in the church knows the events that are coming up, you don't really need to spend money on advertising because the people in the church are already following you. But if your post is to try to reach a bunch of new people that don't know anything about Elam Church, and you're trying to let them know about new events and get them to come, then you might need to spend some money on advertising so it can get out there in front of more people.
That's good.
So, just depends on your goals with everything.
So when you talk about consistency and follow-up, that all directly leads into engagement.
Yes.
Now let's talk about engagement. What does engagement mean? So if somebody's thinking, oh man, engagement, well, I hear that word, but what does engagement really mean, and how does that help?
So I'm going to bring up so I think this topic, we're talking about social media, but I want to expand that a little bit. But before I do that, social media is a very relational thing, I don't know, resource. And so, I feel like I'm more connected to Eucalyptian because I slid up on his story and he was like, oh yeah, that's super cool. I saw that.
Did you just say you slid up on his story?
Yeah, like not slide in. It's different than slide up.
No, she didn't slide into the DMs.
No. Yeah. There's a difference.
I'm the old guy in the room. I just need to know what we're talking about here.
Sliding in is the one, sliding into the DMs like, hey girl, what you doing? But slide up is like, I'm just going to respond.
Okay.
Slide up. Different than slide in. Yeah,
I'm asking all these questions.
The prepositions are important.
Dude, I've been learning all this stuff.
You've been sliding in on people too?
No, but I'm the
Sliding
guy.
up.
I've told you before, like I'm the guy growing up. I didn't want nothing to do with any social media, anything, and I'm still like on a personal level not interested at all. But when it comes to like our band or just reaching people, it's super useful. So I've just been like biting the bullet and just
sliding
getting in there and
but you see it and you know
go ahead.
Yeah,
you slid into his stuff.
I slid up. I slid up. Didn't slide in. I slid up. But
they're both married.
But sliding up, so it's just like, okay, I'm going to comment on this, or like, that's super cool. There was like one specific thing, and I was like, who are you listening to? Or it was a artist that I recognized and had seen, or like.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, just something like that. But then there's like other people that I see that, like I went to a Mac DeMarco concert. I don't doubt anybody listening to this would know who that is. But
the indie king.
very interesting guy. But anyways, I was like, whoa, that's so cool. Like, and so then I, Eucalyptian was on the brain because I saw that on an Instagram thing. And so it is very relational. And so when I say, follow up, I'm talking about, and you talked about engagement as well. So whenever people comment, I'm using a lot of examples because I feel like it's easier for people to see and visualize. But I posted a video, like a testimony video thing of Pastor Ron and his story with Elam Church, and oh my gosh, people ate it up. Like, it's just, but not in that way, but it's just like, man, like what an impact, what an influence that this one guy, and he says in his video, it takes more than just a pastor. It takes, everybody is involved with that. So I think it was really cool you addressed that. But the amount of people who engaged, meaning they didn't just click the video, they didn't just like scroll past it, but their phone was paused on that video and they watched the whole thing, or they shared it, or they commented on it. And so when we're talking about engagement, it's like you're engaging with someone, you're having a conversation with someone, you're relating to them in whatever way, whether that is taking the time to like the post or comment on it. And a lot of people commented on that video saying, oh my goodness, like I remember this pastor, he impacted my family and our kids, and just things that, it's just a video, but that's like it's a very emotional thing, it's a very something that cuts further than just like, it sounds silly, cuts further than your eyeballs, like, it really does like strike a chord with your heart. And like, that's why I love like video so much, is because you can take somebody's story and the fact that you're entrusted with someone's story to build that into something that people can see and view and share with whoever they want, and they can have that forever. So now, like, I don't know, just seeing the comments on there, and then, for me following up and engaging with them and having a relationship with them via Elam Church was, wow, that's so cool. So say Sister Barbara said, wow, that was so awesome. Like, I love Elam Church. Like, they've impacted my family. Elam Church then goes, Sister Barbara, that is so awesome. Thanks for sharing. We can't wait to have you at our celebration. Elam Church just had a conversation with Sister Barbara, and so it's, I don't know, it's very simple, and it takes seconds, but it really does make a huge impact.
A huge difference.
And so when you see that, the church is engaging with you outside of Sunday, outside of Wednesday, just on your phone while you're in your bedroom, in your bed, or whatever it is. So
yeah, and,
or
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Mine's longer.
Okay, I was just going to add on because we said something about is the social media the devil and all that kind of stuff, and obviously we could all name a ton of negative impacts that social media has had on the world.
Definitely.
But it's just the way I see it is it's just a tool like anything else. A hammer's not inherently evil, but if you hit somebody in the head with it to murder them, it's not a good thing. But you could also build a house with it and do
That's
all sorts
good.
of
I
great
like
things.
that. I'm gonna use
So
that
it's just another thing that anybody can use depending on what you do with it.
That's good.
Yeah, and on that, so it ties right into what I was going to say, in that some of the pushback that we've heard, not just at Elam, but just everywhere, right, about social media, and I think it just needs more redefinition especially for those that are not on the front end of the curve, they're still on the back end, is that engagement is not discipleship. And I think that's where a lot of people, especially whenever you're like, it's like where a church psychology has to be, completely implemented, where you have to train people up into thinking about this in another way. But a lot of people think, well, no, it's because if we do that, then are we really discipling people? Well, it's not about discipling people. Engagement isn't. There's other ways to do it digitally, of course, but and we've seen that in like satellite churches where there's one message that goes out to all the satellites and all that, and people say, well, how can they truly be pastored and all that, and I'm totally in it to have that conversation, but there, just because it's more than just what am I trying to say here, is that we shouldn't confuse the two. Right. Outreach and discipleship is not the same thing. And we could definitely use it for discipleship. But again, some of the big pushback that I've heard is like, well, we don't want to do that because we want to get butts in the seat. It's like, well, it does get butts.
Yeah, exactly.
It does get butts in the seat, but we just can't, like James said, we can't just say it's inherently evil because it keeps people away from the physical doors, the physical seats, the physical connections. Like, no, it's completely different. It bridges the gap on the in-betweens whenever you don't see them.
And it goes back to, like I said, or like we all said, what's the goals? What are your goals for these posts? And depending on what you're trying to do, you can make it way more effective if you have some goals.
Yeah, we have to remember, like, the generation before us. When you're the old guy in the room, you have to remember, like, okay, what did I do to make an impact on this generation? Right? So I just think about Pastor Ron when he said that he brought drums into the church.
Yeah.
That way everybody was like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, he's bringing drums in the church. So this whole church is going to hell, right? But there's those people that are they're trailblazers, right? And in certain things that we do, we blaze trails for the next generation. And I think that when we have to keep things in perspective when we get older and really think, like I've always told Sandra, when I get too old and everything gets too loud and the lights are too bright and all of those things, remind me when I was a youth pastor and I was trying to do certain things that people were saying that's a little bit too crazy, David.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be that guy that holds a whole generation back because it's too loud and it's too bright.
Say it again.
Yeah.
So if I can't be young, I want people that stand in the gap between me and the next generation that will fill in that gap and that will lead me to where they're trying to go, and then trust them we're going to all get there because the vision is cast. Totally. And then we're all following the same vision, but it doesn't always look like it did in 1970.
Right.
One of the phrases when I worked at the Chick-fil-A on Fairmont back in the day when I was 16, hold it down, worked under Dave as the GM, who...
legend.
Yeah, legend. He was a legend.
Yeah, legend.
Anyway, one of
Not
the things...
Wendy's Dave.
No. One of the things he would always say, which was kind of like a dumb, cheesy catchphrase, but it had weight to it. He would always say, aces in their places. Here comes the lunch rush. Let's get the aces in their places, which just meant whoever's the best at this thing, put them at that position during, game time. Because Chick-fil-A, 11 to 2 o'clock, it's popping, dude. And there's going to be a ton of cars, and if you don't have the best people at the best positions, it's going to be a problem. And so just like you're saying, put those people in the place that can reach those people that I can't reach anymore. I think it's just super important. When I was putting on that local Palooza thing a couple weeks ago, I can only do so much, right? And I had so many people help me out with stuff, where I would just say, hey, like they would say, hey, do we have anybody to make a sign? I can make a sign. I said, you go make that sign.
Go make it, please.
Because you can do it, and I can't make a sign. I got other stuff to do.
And that's what Pastor Ron was the greatest at. You'd always bring him an idea. Well, that's great, son. That's great, daughter. Well, why don't you go ahead and get that?
Delegate.
Yeah.
Sounds like you can do it. I can't do it. You go do it.
Yeah, and this is the hard part. Okay, this is the hard part, because then you give over, and you experience this, then you give over stuff that you can't control anymore, right? So we're going to give over this, and if I did it, it might not be the best, it might not be as good as Nikki could do it, but I know that it's going to get done when I want to get it done, how I want to get it done, how I think it should be done. But when we give that over to somebody else, you lose control.
Right.
It's true.
And now you don't know how it's all going to end up, right? Yeah. And sometimes it's going to fail.
I have an
sometimes
example.
It's going to work.
I have an example I want to share.
It's going to work.
So this past Sunday, so just 2 days ago, I had Micah Thomas. If you listen to this.
Here, I'll give him some claps.
Sure, yeah. Shout out to Micah.
We might get the wah after the story. Hang on, let's see how it goes.
No, it's good and bad. But he took pictures for me because, I was doing worship, and that's something else I wanted to talk about at some point. But having a team is so important in anything that you do. But coming into this job, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm the only person, so but man, I tried to do that by myself. It did not work. I was exhausted.
That's funny because do you remember the conversation that we had when we first started this?
We had a lot of conversations.
I told you can't do this on your own.
Oh, absolutely not.
Put a team around you because you can't capture everything that's going on in every ministry.
Yeah, and I finally hit a couple people up who are just as excited about media and pictures and as I am, and it's a game changer. It's transformative to have people behind you. And then there was a convocation speaker who said something along the lines of, you're a good leader. You're a good leader whenever you can leave and everything still gets done. It's like you don't need to be there for the mission to get done because you have trained everybody and equipped everybody to where they can do it by themselves. But back to Micah, I had him take pictures. He's never taken pictures at church before. But honestly, I was playing the piano, and he was like, I saw a message on my phone while I was playing, and he said, I don't know where the camera is, so I can't take pictures. And I am playing with one hand, and with the other hand, I'm in the foyer behind desk. And I'm doing that all the time, honestly. If y'all ever take a look, which y'all shouldn't, because y'all should be worshiping the Lord. But if you ever take a look at me, sometimes I'm sending messages because I'm okay, this needed to get done. And then I'm okay, Jara, so it's just, with him, I was no, it's in the foyer, take pictures. And it was Mother's Day, so I was this is important. So I, managed to send him a 3-word text. And so he started taking pictures. And honestly, so the good part about it was that someone was taking pictures. Otherwise, no one was going to have done that for that service. And so it was so cool to see him. He popped out I think it was Brother Stacy was talking. He just took a picture on the stage and then went away and then was over there and over there. And I was that's so cool that I get to sit down and actually listen to what people are saying. Not that I don't listen when I'm taking pictures, but it was just cool to see somebody else doing it for once.
That's funny because I was sitting on the front row waiting for my time to speak, and then I felt something touch me on my shoulder, and I was just what's going on? And I looked over, and Mike is resting the lens on my shoulder so he could get a steady shot.
Oh gosh, yeah. But so anyways, it was really cool to have him take pictures, and then at some point I was trying to flag him down, and he came over to the back, and he was Nikki, I'm so sorry. They're all bad. And I was Mike, what do you mean? And he was like, they're all blurry. I deleted so many. And I was like, no. And so he ended up taking a lot of pretty good pictures, but he told me he deleted so many blurry ones. And I was like, never delete them, because we could always use them for something else, or like a blurry, background, and we put some words over it or something. But he said that he took a bunch of pictures and just went through and deleted. And I was like, no.
So let's just lean into that real quick, because when you first got here, we had no like stored content or pictures. We had
Dave Billingsley, Dave Bill. He had some solid stuff, but that's it.
Yeah, and it was only like 4 or 5 events, just very minimal, not minimal quantity, but event type stuff. Yeah. Like how crucial it is to be able to go back and find stuff and pull and talk about that a little bit.
How important is it to have? Oh my gosh, it's of utmost importance to have content. And so, one of the biggest challenges for me coming in as that, first person was I needed to make all the content by myself. And so one of the first projects that I did here was revamping the website. I don't know when the last time y'all had touched the website was, but it had been a minute. And there were some pages.
And I did it long time ago.
And there were just some things that weren't working. And I was like,
it's so long ago that they quit, they quit managing that site.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. So it was just going into that, and I was like, okay, well, how do I make a website? It wasn't from scratch because I had all the words there, but as far as photos and like the colors and branding is so important. We probably won't get to talk about that, but I could talk about branding forever. But anyways, just consistency and like making sure that everything looks similar, and it's whatever. We can talk about that later. But going in to create an entire church website. And I did have out, Pastor David, did make it very clear, if you need me for anything, I'm here, I got it. But, I had to go in and take pictures of every Sunday school classroom. I had to, drive across the street and, take pictures of every kid, kids' functions. And, and so I was just, trying to hit up. And this was before I was smart enough to know that I could ask other people to take pictures for me, And so I was taking pictures of literally everything I could think of. And just me, one person, one camera, and just boom, 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 boom. And I was taking pictures of literally every possible thing because I had nothing, really to go off of that was recent. And so, I created that website pretty much by myself. But looking back, it's man, that would have been so much easier if I had just asked for help. If I had just been like, hey, can you help me? Can you cover that service for me? Can you go across the street and do this? And so now that I know that and I realize how important that is, man, it just makes his job so much easier. And also there's a challenge with it because then it's you have Micah taking hundreds of blurry pictures. But he's still getting the job done. He's willing to learn. And I think that's one of the biggest things too when you're making a team. Are you willing to learn, and are you excited? And it's yes, okay, we can work with that.
Well, that's that failure point that we was talking about earlier. But the next time he does it, he's going to be aware of making sure that's in frame, and that's
exactly, yeah. And I'm super thankful that he did that. So,
so that would be the number one thing. If I would say, hey, you want to start the social media, start collecting all of that content. Take pictures. It doesn't really matter if it's with your cell phone or whatever it may be. Get all that stuff in a central area, put it on a server somewhere, get you a cloud server or something. Get all that stuff collected. That way you can quickly pull a picture, throw some words over it, and get it posted. Yeah. Other than having to search for something on the internet, maybe even pay for a picture, all that stuff. It doesn't, a lot of times it's not going to look like your church. How important it is for the stuff to look like your church.
Okay.
And then after that, Pastor
ahead.
Caesar, go ahead. Okay.
I was just going to say one thing. People, no, you go.
Go. Yeah, this is weird because I'm not there. But no, just since you're on that topic, just really quick, just some general housekeeping tips, right? Whenever you're creating all your accounts on any social media platform, use the same email. Make a brand new email for it and use the same email, same password for every single thing, or put it in a place where you're not going to forget it. Store all your photos and content in one localized place. Get good about learning how to have a catalog system of how to do these things, because if not, you're just going to be a mess, and it's going to take forever. So time, dates, alphanumeric, whatever you need to do, but just general housekeeping tips, because it can become overwhelming so fast. And 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 it's like in the course of the conversation, I'm gonna have to bow out in a little bit. But in the course of the conversation, what becomes very evident is that Nikki absolutely has a love for what she does as far as being a content creator and being able to execute a plan and getting it out there. It hasn't always been easy, but there has to be a genuine love and creativity when it comes to this. So again, I would just encourage anybody that's listening that's thinking about either revamping their digital media footprint or starting one up, is that it might not always be you. You might be the one that starts it, but the talent will come, especially if you have the vision behind it. And, just really be able to be a great talent scout like Pastor Ron was, and just say, okay, take it over and do it, run with it. And so the love that you have for creating quality, Nikki, is always something that I've always admired, and you do such a great job.
Thank you.
Yep. You can have that passion in anything that you do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think, like you said, with anything you do, but with this especially, or actually to answer your question before I kind of start talking about, I love my job. But you mentioned how important is it for it to look like your church? Thank you, Pastor Steve. That was very kind. It's always nice to be affirmed every once in a while. But people love seeing people. Oh my goodness. I can spend an hour and a half creating a graphic that I think looks so good, and I came up with it on my own, and it took me all this time. I'm like, man, this looks like something like, I don't know, whatever insert church, would post, like, this looks awesome, and it gets 5 likes. And then I take a picture of 2 people smiling at the church, and it takes me literally 5 seconds to upload. Mm-hmm. I didn't put any time into it. I just took the picture, but it's faces, and it gets like 40 likes. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, man, but people just love faces.
That's true, because listen, and I got a bunch of followers on Facebook, whatever, but I can like put this like super inspirational post, and I'm like killing the game on this inspirational post, and then I just
was inspired.
Yeah, and then I'll say something about, I'll post a picture of my wife or something, me and her together, and then everybody's like, "Oh, she's so pretty."
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I've been over here killing all this other stuff. Y'all ain't said nothing about that.
Yeah.
I put my wife or kids on there, and they're just
that's what people like, and they relate to that, and that's what's important too. Going back to how it's a relational ministry, relational, I don't know, work, whatever topic. Relational tool. It's a tool. We're talking about tools,
right,
hammers. It's a relational tool, because people like seeing.
Sorry, go ahead.
People like seeing people who are smiling, and people that they've seen before, and it's like, oh, I know that person, or and it's just very, very relational, and people love seeing people. So definitely.
Yeah. So what about looking ahead? How important is it to look ahead? You've been working on this 100-year thing for months, it seems like,
for 100
right?
years.
For 100 years. Right? We've been working on this 100 years for 100 years.
Yeah.
We had the convocation. You put a lot of work into the convocation, and then like backdoor that, like for the next 8 weeks, we're like going hard on the 100-year. When we do like calendars, I mean, how important is it to look ahead to the next Mother's Day or the next holiday?
I think this isn't even just with social media, but I feel like, in any job environment, any sort of team environment, like everybody needs to be on the same page. Like communication is so important, and sometimes like this hasn't happened in a while, but like I might post something. With all the events, and then someone's like, "Oh, but you didn't post mine." And it's like, "Well, I didn't know. Nobody told me." And it's just, as it sucks, but it's just simple as that. It's like nobody told me. I had no idea.
Right, especially with you, because you work for a larger church, and we have ministries.
Yes, many.
So that's tough.
And I'll go on the church calendar, and I'll ask around here, and if nobody knows about it, I'm looking in the places I should be looking, but it's not there, and so it's like, well, like I didn't know, like I'm sorry, and so I think communication and being on the same page, and gosh, that is so important, and with our church especially, we have, like, yes, there is a huge emphasis on convocation, yes, there is a huge emphasis on the 100-year celebration, but as soon as the 100-year celebration ends, kids camp is next, and then after kids camp it's youth camp, after youth camp or Kindles, and their Kindle revivals like right after that, and after that is YouTube conference, after that is like the men's advance is like before that, ladies retreats after that, and it's like back to back to back to back to back to back, and it's a constant, and so it's not even, oh, we really need, you know, this social media person to really build up this one event. Well, that's great and all, but like if we're a church and our goal is to reach people for Jesus, it doesn't really matter what event we're trying to bring them to. We're trying to bring them into these doors to know Jesus. And so whatever event that is, like we need people on every event, on every, you know, whether it's big or small, like we need to be promoting it. We need to be spreading the news, because it's like, whether it's convocation or whether it's, I don't know, I'm trying to, just the weekly Bible study like that could change somebody's life just as much as the convocation could. And so I think that's something that we tend to miss. It's like, oh, well, this is like a really big deal, so we really need to promote this. Well, so is a weekly Bible study. That's a really, really big deal. And so putting the same amount of effort as we do with you know, something that seems smaller scale. And so I think that's something that even I miss. You know, I'm like putting all this effort into this, and it's like, wait, but there's also this. And so, I don't know, man, it's tough.
Can't shut down everything for one event.
Right. Yeah. And so, and no, very, very important. Like, it doesn't stop when the anniversary celebration is done. Like, it's not over. Next. Yeah, on to the next 100 years, you know? And so it never stops. And that's the cool thing also about it, is like there's always something that you can be doing. There's always something that's happening. And that's really cool about our church too, is that, you know, I feel like I hear, especially with, you know, Ascension young adults, you know, I hear through the grapevine, people are like, there's nothing going on. There's nothing to do. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There is so much happening. But like, they just don't know about it. Why? Because no one's, you know, sharing this or spreading the news here. And so, I don't know. You just have to know your audience, and you have to know where to reach them. And that goes for any area of whatever expertise.
So we cannot not have this discussion without talking about branding. Okay, I mean, this is like super, super important, because I done a terrible job of branding.
You got no brand.
Here, because, you know, I did a lot of the artworks and different things here before.
I knew you liked red, so that was the color red.
Yeah,
you like red, so that's good. You're getting, you know what I mean?
I did. I used a lot of red because it looked good on print, right?
Yeah.
No, it does. It's a good color.
But you know, use red. But you know, I sat down with Nikki and we were just like, okay, we talked about before the 100 years was even a thing. We sat down and we talked about branding and what does branding look like. And we hear, you know, branding this and branding that, but it's like more than just a word. We talked about, I mean, she broke it down to like the fonts that we're going to use for everything that goes forward on the 100 years. We're going to stay consistent with fonts. We're going to stay consistent with colors. We're going to stay consistent with the way we're reaching out. Talk about why that's important, and then, like, you know, how do you get there?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I think that branding is important. I'm going to look up the definition, because I don't know if I could give a better definition than what Google.
The Webster Dictionary. Oh, y'all don't know nothing about it. It's Google now. It's not.
Merriam-Webster essay beginning. Okay. Okay. The definition of branding is the action of marketing with a branding iron. No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah, no, that's a different.
No, that's a cow.
You got the verb.
Okay, here it is. The promotion of a particular product or company by means of advertising and distinctive design. So I was at a Rockets game, or Astro, I think it was Rockets, and I saw, I'm trying to remember which company it was. This is not helping me prove my point, but
yeah, you don't know which
I don't even remember the company. I think it was Home Depot, because all it was it didn't say nothing about Home Depot. All it was the color orange and then white letters, and it
said Home Depot for sure.
It was the font of what Home Depot uses, and it was like a phrase, nothing to do with Home Depot, but as soon as I saw the color and I recognized like the type of font it was, I was like, oh, that's a Home Depot ad. Yep. And I didn't even think twice, because I saw, orange, Home Depot, or like red and white, cows. You go down 45 and you see a billboard of a cow. You know that's Chick-fil-A.
We were out of town the other day, and we were looking for a Walmart. We were pulling up, and through the trees I seen a blue stripe in a gray building. Just Walmart. A part of it. Yeah. I was just like, there's the Walmart.
Ooh, or the Golden Arches. They probably have one of the best McDonald's, man. Like, you can see that Golden Arch M from like miles away, and it's like, there's a McDonald's. We're pulling over there. Like, if you're in the middle of nowhere. But so, I mean, branding, again, distinctive, something that can set whatever you're selling, whatever you're sharing about, set it apart. And that's something that I wanted to talk about earlier that I totally forgot. Social media is, in the grand scheme of things, such a small part of like what my job here is. Even my job. So like, I think, people are just like, oh yeah, she just social media and pictures and things like that. But it's not even social media. It's marketing. It's selling a business. The church is the church, but it's also, the church is a business. And so, because we're selling something, what are we selling? Well, we're selling
Jesus,
the best product out there, guys. But that's what we're selling. And so social media isn't just, social media, but we are marketing a business. And if you think about any other corporate, whatever job, company, there's probably like a million marketing titles, head of marketing, director, advertising, and that's like all of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, social media chick.
Yeah, that's literally.
That girl that takes the photos.
Yeah, that one girl with the camera. That's distracting. No,
that distracting girl who texts during service.
While she's playing.
She should be worshiping.
Yeah. So, but no, it's important to recognize that digital tools, digital resources. Yeah, it's not just social media. It's print media. It's T-shirts, it's flyers, things that you hand out, business cards, the sign in front of our church, like that's media. That's that's branding. Mm-hmm. So and it's everything that can sell whatever you're trying to sell. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that I need to remind myself, and what I wish other people knew. I just wish other people knew that it wasn't just social media, but this is like a marketing job. Like, I could also probably take that title, but that's not what it seems. So like, right.
So if you had some like just high level look at this when you're going out to try to brand your church and you're putting some volunteers in there, what would you say like the top 2 or 3 things is important to do?
What do you mean to do with in regards to what?
In branding, like what would you suggest for Sister Sue to go out there and begin to brand their church? Where do we attack that from first?
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like you could teach like a whole, like probably like so many workshops on this kind of stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. Hopefully, no one who has this job is like a career professional. I'm a professional. I have this as a career. Is listening. And they're like, that's wrong. That's wrong. But I mean, I don't know. I would say. Know what your goal is. We were talking about James mentioned earlier. I forgot what exactly he said, but set the goal. Set the goal. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Who are you trying to reach? Honestly, I'm just thinking who, what, where, when, why. I don't know why it's coming to my head. But that's something you learn when you're itty bitty.
Yeah.
But like, it's very key. Like, who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to do? And how are you going to do it? I guess we're talking about how here, but you can't determine how you're going to do it unless you know that you're trying to reach, a bunch of teenagers, or you're trying to reach people who are hungry and they want Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think, and then with being specific to branding, I think it is a very visual thing. And so, I'm just thinking I'm in a very like creative content type brain right now. So like colors, making sure your colors are, when someone sees, a gray building and a blue strip, they know, oh yeah, that's Walmart.
Right. Be consistent on whatever you're putting out. Be consistent.
I think that's one of the hardest things too. Just
talk about consistency.
Right.
Being like doing it all the time, but then being consistent of what it looks like also.
Right. Exactly. And so that's something that's super important with, just events that happen here too, because I think it is one of the hardest things to do, because in order to have consistency, you need to have communication. And if, someone just needs to put a graphic up on the screen while someone's preaching, but it was totally different than what, I had created, it's like there's no consistency. Is it even the same? I mean, yes, it's the same event, but it's, it's just like there's just in your mind, in your subconscious, there's like the separation of like what you thought it was. And I don't know, but I could probably go on a while about that. But
I use those same things when I preach. I always have a graphic when I preach. And because I feel like if you can see it, you can hear it, almost touch it, right? So if you can see something and go along with what I'm talking about, maybe there's something in that graphic that will hold your attention, that will help you remember it when you leave. Because how many times we leave the church and we're like, somebody asks you, what did Pastor preach about today? Be like, Jesus.
What you learned in Sunday school today from the parents, and you say,
Jesus.
So the more that you're able to hit in different sensories, more ability.
Definitely. And I think when I hear branding, I often think about bands and like merch and stickers and James, you could probably talk a little bit about how that has been for you. But I went to a Coldplay concert on Sunday and it was like one of the best things ever. And but like they have been, and obviously Coldplay is like a massive, they're on this world tour, international, like crazy. And so obviously they have an insane budget for that kind of stuff. But their album was World of Spheres, and it was a very space oriented, like otherworldly, ethereal, like planets, and so from the shirts to the graphics that they had in the background to like the lights that were going on in the show to like the shirt that I bought like has planets on it, and their website is all galaxy looking, and so literally everything right now that Coldplay is putting out is just you can identify in an instant, like, oh yeah, World of Spheres, their album, because it's space everywhere for them, like everything looks the exact same, not the exact same and like, oh, it's boring, but
same theme.
Everything, the theme, the theme. And so I don't know, I just think about that, but I don't know if you want to share anything.
I'll say in kids' church, when I was in like second grade or something like that, they did, it was back when Mark McEwen was still the pastor, and he did a message on the 10 Commandments, and he had, he said in some college course he took, he had to do, like his assignment was to make, I can't remember what he said his assignment was, but for this course, he made these like cutout cards of like really big, basically flashcards for each of the 10 Commandments, and they all had a graphic on it with like number 1 and number 2 that he made some kind of graphic for that helped you remember what that commandment was. And to this day, I know what all the 10 Commandments are because of that message, because he had, and I picture all the little numbers that he would hold up and say, the first one was like, the first commandment is don't have any other gods before me. So it was like the number 1, like you're number 1. He had this graphic talking about like you're number 1. Second was don't bow down to false idols. And he had made the 2, because the 2's got the curve on it. He made it look like it was a person bowing down. Wow. And like he did that with all of them. So
that's cool.
So yes, the graphic thing, if you can put a graphic by something, it does help you remember things.
And that is like a scientific thing. I don't know the science behind it, don't ask me, but like I'm sure there's some chemicals in your brain that you see something and it's very sensory, like, oh, and then it reminds, like we're just, visually tangible, like learning. That's how we learn. Yeah. That's how things stick, memories, pictures in your head. But
yeah. Number 8's don't steal. He made it look like a cookie jar, and he was like, like don't steal the cookies. Like I can still say all that because of that message.
Awesome.
So
that's so funny. I need to ask you because the other day, me and Juan were just randomly.
What's number 10?
No, for real. I'm serious. We were quizzing each other.
Go ahead, ask me, bro.
I was like, gosh, I don't know if I like. I was just trying. Juan, I was like, okay, tell me all the. I forgot. We were in some sort of like heated not argument. We were talking about like, okay, the Bible. Like, how well do you know? And it's like, well, name the 10 Commandments. And I was like, and then he was like, oh, well, I'll name them. And then he was like, and so it just we didn't. And so, but like.
Number 3, don't take the Lord's name in vain. He made like the 3 like into these tongues, like they were saying. Number 4, remember Sabbath, keep it holy. He made the 4 look like a church or something like that. 5, honor your father and mother. He put like a crown on the 5, like it was a king, Wow. 6, don't murder. Made it look like a cannon because it was like shooting, blowing stuff up. 7's don't commit adultery, and he made the 7 into like the Joseph and the coat of many colors, and he like tied that story in. Told you 8, 9's don't lie, so he made the 9 like a face, and it was like a lying serpent's tongue coming out of the 9. So it was like I don't remember what he did for 10, but that's the only one left. So you remember, don't covet.
That's awesome. Well, Nikki, thanks for stopping by. I think there's some really, really good information. And hopefully this will still go out. And, we have people listen all over the world, small churches, missionaries, all those things. And I think that no matter where you are, if you're like us, that we have our own small businesses, how that could help us there. Or you just trying to get out there and reach people in your regular, discipleship you want to reach your friends and your family through your Facebook pages or, whatever your social media is, I think that we can use a lot of this in a lot of different areas.
Right.
So thanks for everything that you've done. And then like going forward, whatever you're going to do in life.
Thank you.
I know you have great success because you have passion and everything that you do. So thanks for stopping by.
This is the Refuge Project.